Where did all of the great Canadian goalies go?
Unbelievable! Patrick Roy! Roberto Luongo! Brodeur!
I got my 2 Stanley Cup rings plug in my ear.
They were here not that long ago, anchoring Canada's national teams in best-on-best tournaments around the world.
This is what legends are made out of.
And now, our golden age is over, and Canada's crease appears to be on the verge of entering a new ice age. Those big-name backstops have gone the way of the two-pad stack or the Jofa helmet and might be facing imminent extinction. So does this drastic shift represent a new reality in Canadian sports? Let's bring the potential extinction of the great Canadian goalie into focus. When Canada, the United States, Finland, and Sweden take the ice for the Four Nations face-off in February, hockey fans will get to enjoy the first best-on-best international hockey competition in more than a decade. And if the first 6 names announced are any indication, Canada should once again be fielding a stellar squad.
Nathan McKinnon lights the way. It's Connor McDavid! Kale McCullough!
And in net, between the pipes, rocking the waffle board, we've got... Okay, we don't know who will be starring in net for Canada just yet. But early speculation seems to be surrounding Stuart Skinner, Aiden Hill, and Jordan Binnington.
When we start to talk about the quality of goaltenders around the world, right? Canada might be 5th best. Maybe 4th. I can't recall a situation where Canada was so far behind. Let's call them off the podium with respect to where they're at in their goaltending.
Look, I'm a proud Canadian, and as such, I want to be as fair and polite as possible. But what exactly is going on here?
Canada has lost its edge between the pipes.
There is a downtrend right now. Top-tier names aren't there.
Finland has already named 2-time All-Star Jussi Saros to their tournament roster.
Shut down by Soros!
And we can expect to see Vezina winner Connor Hellebuyck and Vezina runner-up Jacob Markstrom playing in goal for the United States and Sweden respectively.
Amazing save! What a goaltending performance.
And we have no doubt that Skinner or Binnington or Hill or maybe Sam Montembeault are perfectly capable of backstopping Canada to victory in the Four Nations, and maybe even in the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy. But considering previous best-on-best tournaments saw Canada feature the likes of Carey Price, Roberto Luongo, Martin Brodeur, and Patrick Roy, it does beg the question, what happened to all of Canada's standout goaltending? Now, before we all run into the streets and start yelling at clouds, let's keep things in perspective. Canada won the IIHF World Championship just last year.
And Team Canada has done it again!
And Canadian goaltenders continued to compete at the highest levels, backstopping Stanley Cup champions in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2022, and 2023. But considering the glaring spotlight placed on any Canadian goaltender heading into an international best-on-best competition, it's a little striking to consider that the era of Canadian goalie dominance may be over. And that's fair. After all, Canada's dominance in global competition has dipped as the game has grown and become more international. Of the 34 goalies to play 40 or more NHL games last season, 9 were Canadian. And the keepers at the top of that Canadian list were names like Cam Talbot and Connor Ingram. Great goalies, respected competitors in the National Hockey League, but not necessarily the standouts.
That's a joke.
The pride of Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, Braden Holtby won the Vezina Trophy as the NHL's top goalie in 2016.
What a save, Braden Holtby!
But since then, 17 different keepers have been named finalists for the award. 3 of them have been Canadian, Holtby and Price, neither of whom is currently playing in the NHL, and 2021 Vezina winner Marc-Andre Fleury, who at age 39 has announced that the upcoming NHL season will be his last.
Oh my goodness!
During the 2003-2004 NHL season, 54 of the league's 94 goalies were Canadian, which accounts for 57% of the league's netminders. And of those 54 Canadian NHL goalies, 20 hailed from Quebec, an impressive number we'll revisit soon. But as other countries have developed their own goaltending crop at a startling pace, Canada has been the odd nation out of the crease.
We've fallen a long way.
Gone are the days when we had the dominance at the position.
In the 2023-2024 season, 33 of the 98 goalies who saw NHL action were Canadian, roughly 33%. And that number wasn't an outlier, as 30% of NHL goalies in the 2022-2023 season were Canadian. Meanwhile, Canadian representation at other positions is not showing similar numbers. So what's going on? If we're talking about Canadian goaltending, we really should start with the longtime mecca of the crease, La Belle Province, Quebec. Ah oui, Quebec. Hockey's history has been largely painted by goalies hailing from the province, from Jacques Plante to Bernie Parent to Rogie Vachon. The namesake for the award given to the NHL's top goaltender, former Canadian netminder Georges Vezina, is actually the pride of Chicoutimi, Quebec, and was known as the Chicoutimi Cucumber. But the trend of Quebec goalies took off with the emergence of Patrick Roy with the Montreal Canadiens in the 1980s. And each of the goalies ranked top 4 in career NHL wins hail from Quebec. But the province has seen a startling drop in recent years, both in overall hockey participation as well as representation in the NHL, with only 3 Quebecois keepers playing more than a single game in the NHL last season. Compare that to the 2008-2009 season when 7 different Quebecois keepers played at least 30 games, a list that includes the likes of Martin Brodeur, Marc-Andre Fleury, José Theodore, Jean-Sébastien Giguère, Roberto Luongo, and Martin Biron. Yes, it's unfair to pin all this on a single province. Besides, youth hockey participation across Canada has been steadily dropping for years, while the numbers have gone in the opposite direction south of the border, with factors like cost and the variety of alternative activities contributing to the drop. Overall, youth hockey participation in Canada has decreased by nearly a quarter over the last decade and a half. In a time where pressure and criticism on social media is at an all-time high, are kids in the most hockey-crazed country on the planet shying away from the glaring spotlight of hockey's most important position?
I do think, to your point, it has become unappealing. Young athletes are all on social media. Going out and being the goaltender now, it's not the sexy, appealing part of the game.
But that wouldn't explain what is currently going on in the United States. Actually, USA Hockey has spent years paying particular focus to developing goalies in the country. The Yanks have been getting more and more stacked at the position for years, and last season 2 of the 3 Vezina Trophy finalists were Americans, including San Diego native Thatcher Demko. San Diego native?
San Diego. It's the greatest city in the history of mankind.
Finland, meanwhile, has been focusing on goaltending for years, with the Finland Ice Hockey Association employing full-time goaltending specialists to monitor the country's numerous youth programs. We're not sure exactly what Russia's doing, but it's obviously working. The country is teeming with an embarrassment of goaltending riches.
Andrei Vasilevsky is downright elite.
There's been nobody better than Igor Shesterkin.
But maybe one of Canada's biggest problems is overcoaching and not encouraging enough of the feel and instinct that made so many of our goalies so great.
Marc-Andre Fleury in vintage form.
We have taken goaltending and we have made it way too technical at a young age. I'm in the rinks. I'm there. Hockey sense is really important for goaltenders. I think it's critically important. And I think they're locked in goaltenders too much of the time in the technique rather than trying to build an all-around goaltender.
And when it comes to the framework of Canadian junior hockey, our goaltenders could be at a strategic disadvantage.
The development path of the Canadian juniors doesn't allow enough time for goalies to really mature.
Where's the opportunity for the goaltenders to grow? Talented goaltenders coming up the system. It's so rare to see a 16-year-old playing junior hockey. 17, rare. There's a gap there in terms of what I call key essential development periods for a goaltender.
Look, this could all be anecdotal information and speculation, Maybe Canadian goalies are just in a lull after enjoying such an impressive showing for so long.
He's the best goaltender on the planet.
Maybe that next great generation of Canadian netminders is just around the corner. And to be clear, I don't think there's any questioning that whomever Hockey Canada selects to start in the crease at the upcoming Four Nations event is more than capable of backstopping the boys to a tournament title.
Aiden Hill takes away a sure goal. Jordan Binnington, it's his show now.
But there's also no question that Marc-Andre Fleury's upcoming retirement will mark the end of a long and incredible era for Canadian goalies.
We've seen the closing of era. It's not the first time we're going to see the end of an era of Canadian goaltending. I mean, it's the great semisonic line in closing time.
Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.
Hey, I'm all for referencing classic 1990s rock anthems whenever the opportunity presents itself. But if it really is closing time for Canada's goaltending pipeline, Canadian hockey fans will be looking high and low for someone to fill that void. So who's it going to be?